You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing. You are now listening to the iWalter Show. Real talk about nothing.
Marion, don't look at it. Shut your eyes, Marion. Don't look at it no matter what happens.
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Look, up in the sky, it's a bird brain, it's a plane, it's iWalter. Yes, it's iWalter, a strange visitor from another planet who came to Earth with powers and abilities far beyond those of mortal men. iWalter, who can change the course of mighty rivers, bend ears with his annoying voice, and who, disguised as Walter Interanti, mild-mannered janitor for a great metropolitan newspaper, fights a never-ending battle for truth, nonsense, and the American way. And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of iWalter.
Hey everyone, this is Walter on iWalter. Good morning, everyone. It is actually Sunday morning at 12:44 a.m., but I'm going to just consider it Saturday night because technically for most people it actually is. So even though it is the 13th at this point, I'm going to honestly just call it Saturday night because, again, that's what most people are considering anyway. I used to when I was a kid, try to be politically correct, I guess, when I can. Yeah, so what happened was I used my monologue tonight from Raiders of the Lost Ark because my parents had told me last night that it was playing tonight, or last night I should say, in the local Oaks movie theater. So I wouldn't have known about it otherwise. So I quickly bought some tickets for my parents and I. Now, the first time I had seen that film was with my dad, and that was 34 years ago. I was 14 years old at the time. And my dad asked, hey, I want to go see this movie called Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I asked my mother, and she said no. She She said, I want to go see The Shining. I have no interest in seeing this movie called Raiders because nobody knew what it was about. So she regretted it, for the last 34 years. She said, I wish I would have seen that in the big screen. So last night she told me or the night before, she told me, it's playing in the big, playing once again for one night, one show only, over in Oaks, at least. So, I jumped all over that and got tickets for all three of us. So that's why I had to play that. I want to actually discuss that in a moment. It was funny because I was going to actually look for something. I'll go back into that too. But there was a political cartoon on one of the things I wanted to discuss a little bit. And it's about how ISIS is basically getting themselves into these countries like Germany and, most of Europe by just coming in as, pretending to be these, mix themselves in with these refugees and I can't remember. I mentioned the other day. So there's this political cartoon, and that's what I'm kind of basing this upon. But it was an article from Rush too, and it says it shows a gate, a wall of a gate, and it says Europe, and then there's like a Trojan horse, and it says ISIS ET let me in. We're only poor Syrian refugees and stuff. So I saw that. I was like, yeah, you know what? That actually is what I wanted to talk about a little bit. I'm going to see if I can find it, because I actually wanted to go a little bit on about Raiders of the Lost Ark too, just a little bit about which I didn't know when I was a kid. Anyway, I have to thank Matt. Thank you so much. The word I was looking for that I didn't, I was looking for was actually this word called homage, which was the word I was trying to look for that I didn't give enough. It's homage. I didn't give enough, credit to, Friday being 9/11, and that was the 14th year. I'm trying to look for the one on Rush, though. Maybe I'll just kind of go through that real quick. Because I did talk about this actually on yesterday's show, but there was something else. I just had it. Because I already did discuss this, but it was the truth about the Middle East refugees. The Palestinian, here they come. They're sneaking in. They're basically sneaking in these ISIS. And they're pretty much. Maybe the biblical, in the biblical sense, there is some truth to that, the world will come to an end. Maybe our calendar was a bit off on when it's going to happen. But at this rate, it could be true. Yeah, because I read this yesterday again. Rush, the headline, ISIS threatens to send 500,000 migrants to Europe. That was the word I was looking for, migrants to Europe as a psychological weapon. But the thing was, he also had mentioned, I'm not going to try to keep on stealing from Rush. I don't actually mean to use that word either, steal from Rush, but I do like how he execute things, or how he says things, I should say. Because I was listening a little bit today, and he was basically saying that, they're gonna basically they discussed about doing this, these people we call ISIS. They did make mention they're gonna basically invade different countries, and how they do it is now they're coming in through into these countries that allow them in. And as I mentioned, Germany, I did hear that again from Rush. He said that Germany is just, the population, the birth rate is low, the economy is not doing that well. So they figured, hey, we let in these, I'm putting in my own terms, these refugees and these migrants that'll help re-stimulate the economy. We're getting more by having more people, that's going to be more money, but it doesn't. But the thing is, that's why this political cartoon had about this Trojan horse deal. They're doing this everywhere, and it's basically it's these people we call ISIS that are invading these countries. And they haven't made their mark yet, but once they do, and I'm sure they've done that in the U.S., it's going to be pretty much, I mean, I'm just giving my opinion, but I think this is going to be what we call the end of the world, as we know it, or, doomsday, whatever you want to call it. And maybe, we can thank also, because we are a free world, or free country, I should say, we can thank our administration to help this process also, by obviously giving, the countries in the Middle East now the ability to make nuclear weapons. So I did go into that again, so I'm just trying to highlight a little bit. And I put it, the reason I'm bringing it up again was because I actually saw, when I saw that cartoon, it's like, okay, this is going to be part of my little thumbnail. So I had to explain why, I guess, so to speak. Yeah, the thing that always fascinated me, which I was never very much into theology, minus I had to take a class going to a Catholic college eventually. I needed to learn that. And so, you learn a little bit more. You don't learn all the stuff that's the most interesting. You got to do that on your own. But one of the things was, going to see also, because this is kind of related on the religious aspect. We're talking the Middle East once again. But, now I'm going to be talking about, I guess, so to speak, indirectly, Jerusalem and the Ark of the Covenant, because that's what the whole thing about Raiders of the Lost Ark was. Now, if you watch those films, I'm not going to make this real serious. It's the weekend. I want to enjoy as part of it because I got to do wash tomorrow. Yeah, it says Turkish man's tomb. I think that's actually where the Ark of the Covenant is presumably last been placed. I don't think it was ever found. There's been speculation that they actually did find the Ark of the Covenant, and it was like in the movie. They did walk this in, I guess, before war, if I'm correct. Now, this is a very light-hearted show, more so than my other ones. So, but I did try to look at different articles on the Ark of the Covenant, because I always found it really fascinating. So I'm going to go with Wikipedia, which can be changed by, anybody can go in and change things around. But what they're saying, just reading the highlight, the Ark of the Covenant, basically, also known as the Ark of the Testimony, because basically the Ark of the Covenant had within its of this box, or whatever you want to call it, was actually the Ten Commandments, the two tablets that we know as the Ten Commandments if you're Christian. It says it is a chest described as in the book of Exodus, as it contains the tablets of stone of which the Ten Commandments were inscribed. According to the New Testament letter to the Hebrews, the ark also contained Aaron's rod and a jar of manna. So, however, the first of the books of Kings say that the time of the King Solomon, the ark contained only the two tablets of the laws, or of the law. According to the book of Exodus, the ark was built at the command of God in accordance with the instructions given to Moses on Mount. I should know this. I know, Matt, you will bust me on this. On Mount Sinai. Anyway, it says these events are described of having transpired at Mount Horeb, Horeb. Now, I was watching those specials on this stuff, and it actually did. There was a thing on, before Christ and after. There was that series that was on TV. It was actually really good. I got it on DVD, and it was actually released on Blu-ray too. But it actually, honestly, it was pretty good. It was really good, very informative. I forget the name of that series, though. I have it somewhere. Anyway, God was said to have communicated with Moses from between the two cherub on the ark's cover. This is something you really, honestly, I'm not trying to make fun of I'm not making fun of it, but just kind of not reading it correctly is not what I intend to do. I know, I guess, I'm trying to look for the part where, it says the covered ark and 7 priests with ram horns at the Battle of Jericho in the 18th century artist's depiction, because I'm kind of glancing over this. I know they actually did, soldiers would carry the Ark of the Covenant with the means of basically, God would protect the soldiers, who would carry the Ark. The Ark would be some type of protection. I could be wrong on that, but it was just, I remember it, again, honestly, my knowledge on theology is obviously not that good. But the whole thing about the Ark of the Covenant is definitely something that would be worth reading up on even more. I myself should do, obviously. The way it was depicted in Raiders actually was pretty impressive, I thought. Just to think that, even though it was just a fictional movie, that, the whole purpose was, in the movie, it was the Nazis figured they could use this because they would have God at their side to basically conquer the world, or, be in, power of Europe and America. I assume that was the premise. And, the Ark of the Covenant not only had obtained the laws of God, but also, whoever had in their grasp, I guess, obviously, the Ark of the Covenant also held the power of God in their hands as well. So, it was just a fascinating, mixing theology with fiction. I thought it was really well, placed. They made for a really good film, obviously. Because the only other one I really liked of those, Indiana Jones movies, as they changed the name from, Raiders to Indiana Jones, honestly, was obviously the first one, in my opinion, and the third one, because the second one actually was another, had something to do with archaeology, but it was more, which that was interesting actually too. Don't get me wrong; it was actually on the Aztecs, if I remember correctly, but it wasn't the same as, the one on the Ark of the Covenant or the one with the Holy Grail. You think of, when you say a Holy Grail, I'm sure some people my age would right away say, or actually think of Marty Python, the Holy Grail. But again, it was another theological, fictional story, theology mixed with a lot of fiction. In the third movie, with the Ark of the Covenant, with the Holy Grail, but the way it was presented was really good. It was very entertaining, because I'm sure people like myself, I would say I haven't proved that, so I'm being quite a bit the hypocrite. But wouldn't you think that people would then like, hey, wait a minute, hey, I'd like to read up on this part of of theology, the part about the Ark of the Covenant, and find out the history of that, or the Holy Grail. Those were both really good. The other ones I don't need to even mention because they weren't that good. They were okay. So, so I just wanted to mention that a little bit. I'm seeing what I have in my mix of stuff tonight. Because I actually do have a little bit. There was something actually I found. It was on astonishing imagegalaxy.me. And it was this girl, I guess, I know people are against using animals for tests on things. But, like for, there is some truth to this, I guess. It is cruelty to animals on, for testing makeup or products that we put on our skin. But this woman went one step further. And again, it was on this astonishing, I'm trying to look for the name. Okay, astonishing image galaxy.me. It's all one word, minus instead of .net or .com, it's ME. And it says this innocent girl was tortured for 10 hours straight, and you might agree with it. And this was in the UK, so this woman is just trying, she's got like one of these, I guess they call it, I think they call it a skin suit or something. But she's just showing how, she was trying to represent, or they were trying to show her with some other people. She was the guinea pig, so to speak. Just trying to present what animals go through when they do laboratory tests. And they did this as a presentation outside. So it did look pretty, obviously convincing, so to speak. Anyway, it says a woman in the UK. Yeah, I might have read that. So, her name was Jacqueline. She was making a point. She was passionate about companies using horrible animal testing methods, and she knew she had to make the statement. It's pretty gruesome too. She wore a flesh-colored bodysuit. But yeah, the stuff she was trying to demonstrate. I mean, I know some people just go way too far, and to a point, yeah. I guess we don't see what happens. I mean, there's certain things I guess you can consider necessary, but for makeup and other things, I don't know. But yeah, it's pretty. If you are kind of like, I wouldn't say faint of heart, but almost. I would go that far. I would probably recommend not checking that out. Yeah, I'm not one of these pro-activists too either. So yeah, don't think that I am. But I can at the same time I can be open-minded about a lot too. So, sorry, I just thought it might have been a story I was looking at. Yeah, but you notice my tone's not as aggressive because obviously I'm not at work either. And I'm just going to go through things to see what would be worth reading and not that I might have pulled up. Actually, it was kind of funny. Now I lost it. Maybe it's on my home page. I'm going to have to check as I glance through really quick. Somewhere in the mix. Oh, yeah, here we go. There was this movie, and it was on Me TV tonight with this Sev Senguli. It was called Monster on Campus. Now, I just got home from watching Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it was like, okay, this looks pretty good. It's an old black and white film. It's 1958. Yeah, it says, tonight on Senguli, a professor is exposed to an irradiated blood of an extinct fish and turns into a murderous Netherland monster who terrorized a campus. And it's Monster on Campus, and was on last night at 10 o'clock. Now, the thing that was interesting about this film, this is why I put it in my mix, though, was the fact that this movie also basically kind of looked like it might have influenced some other people, believe it or not. Like, the one that came to mind was that movie called Altered State, because the premise was the same. Now, Altered State came out, I think, in the 80s. I got to look that up. I think it was Altered States. And it was a... give me a minute, folks, I'm away from my mic. Yeah, Altered States came out in 1980, and the whole premise of that was... this guy who tries to find, where man came from, and, trying to find that history actually, our evolution. It had William Hurt in there, but he's basically saying that the movie, and that was a professor too, because I'm looking at it right now. It says, respected scientist and psychology professor Edward Jessup, played by William Hurt, decided to combine his experiments in sensory deprivation in a sensory deprivation tank with powerful hallucinogenic drugs, convinced that it would help him unlock, I guess, basically. I'm not going to, that came out December 25th, 1980. Basically unlock different states of the unconscious. Well, you know what? Like I was saying when I was watching, whoever made that film, I can look it up. It's not important, but whoever made that film, obviously it looks like to me may have seen that 1958 film by the looks of it. And now the other movie though was very campy. Don't get me wrong. The one on that professor in the college, but which was Monster on the Campus. So, and the costume and the makeup he had on the getup was really bad. It looked like a rubber mask on the one in Monster on Campus. But, you can't say either way. I mean, I know some people will tell me, well, do you have any evidence to prove this? No, but you can look at it and you can draw your own conclusions. Is this going to win me the Nobel Prize if I'm right? No, I'm just making small talk just to let people know who seem that they need to prove me wrong or have to oppose everything I actually mention on a stupid podcast. So, but anyway, this is one that was just kind of interesting because I came home not expecting this. And, and seeing it was like really cool. Because again, it reminded me of Altered States. It actually reminded me of something else too. Oh, it actually reminded me, believe it or not, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is true, but it actually, one part actually reminded me of Evil Dead. And you're probably saying, okay, this is really like, you really don't know what you're talking about. And so, you know what? Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. But again, is it important that I always be right on everything? Or am I, entitled to just make small talk? I mean, let me put it this way. Does everybody think exactly what they're going to say before they say it? And even if they're going to say, so how are you doing today? Do you have to make an analytical conversation before you even say that? Well, before I say, how is your day? Maybe I should think about this and make sure what I'm saying, every word is very, has some meaning. Now, if everybody would think like that everything that comes out of their mouth has to have some precise meaning, we would all be in mental state hospitals because there would be no small talk. Because you would have to think that everything that comes out of your mouth, no matter what it is, like even if you have to go to the bathroom, you'd have to make it into a thesis why you have to go to the bathroom, present it to somebody, get it approved, and that would be the only way. Well, that's what the show's not about. The show is about just whatever comes off the top of my head. So anyway, I'm just making that clear because some people listen and they apparently think that I need to clarify or find, like when you write an essay paper, you have to basically have a work cite or a, what do you call it? What's the other thing? There's being work cited or a bibliography of some sort for everything I say. Well, if that was the truth, I would be not getting paid negative hundreds of dollars. I'd be getting paid like millions of dollars to do this show, but I'm getting paid zero. So, and the whole intention is what do you call it? Not blogs. Well, blogs are the same thing in my opinion. But a podcast is just a place for people to vent themselves. Because you ever listen to anybody else's podcast, I don't care who it is, and the first one that comes to mind is Kevin Smith. Trust me, it's on the level of nonsense, stupidity, and just basically talking about anything and everything. So that's what my show is going to be. But yeah, this monster on campus, and I'm sorry for going such astray to anybody. I probably lost your interest at this point. But this movie didn't remind me, like, okay, it had to, in some sense of the word, I'm sure, influence the person who, or people who were involved in making altered states. Because you have, like, this main theme in this movie where things are being regressed back into their primate state. It was this professor, a dog, and some type of insect that they got a hold of this like primal goo or whatever, and once it would like get into the bloodstream of, in particular, this one, it was like a mosquito in this movie, or a dog, or this professor, it had regressed them back into their primitive state of not just, basically of their history. So, and that's pretty much almost in the same premise. Now, I'm not doing a very good job of describing this movie. You can check it out. I think it's even up on YouTube for free. But I would recommend check it out and then tell me, like, you know what? I can kind of see where you came up with this idea or thought that, hey, maybe this person was influenced by watching this campy movie called Monster on Campus. But anyway, there was a part that he wasn't sure if this professor thought, because a few people got murdered by this Neanderthal type man, how did they put it? Netherland monster, or Neanderthal. Yeah, they actually did say Neanderthal monster. So I did get that right. And this professor figured out, wait, it's me who's actually, is this person regressing back into this Neanderthal? And when he figures that out, he has to prove it. So he ties himself to the chair, he sets up a bunch of cameras, and then he tries to record himself changing, by putting this chemical in, or this primal goo inside himself to see if this is what's, or this, if he is actually tapping back into his history. And he figures out it's true. But he records it on like one of these old, it's a 1958 movie. What else would they use? Recording device with the reel. And that tape deck, though, remind me of the whole setup. And because he actually plays it back at one point. He plays to listen to himself. But it reminded me of if you ever watched the original Evil Dead, there was a recording device. And, oh, by the way, he had done this experiment, this professor, in a cabin. So, yes, if you ever watched original Evil Dead, the premise was these people go into a cabin, they find a reel-to-reel tape, audio recording device, a big one, like the one in Evil Dead, and the man is basically recording his experiment. One was with the Necronomicon and the Evil Dead, and in this one, he's just recording his experiment on is it possible for man to tap into his primitive history or his primate self, which is actually in your genetics or your DNA. So, but just the way it was, the way it was shown, it looked very similar. Like, it looked like maybe, when people come up with ideas for film, generally it's on what they've read, what they've experienced in their own personal life, or what they've watched in the past. So I would say that this film probably may have influenced certain people that just really liked parts of that film. Again, it was called Monster on Campus. I think it did probably impress certain people who later on in life had became writers, directors, producers. That's just a guess. But, it's not going to hurt by just, me saying that. So, and mention about Evil Dead. It's funny. There was a thing on Cinema Blend, and it says, "Will Ash versus Evil Dead time travel?" And here is what Bruce Campbell says. So, because that was a big thing in the second and third. The second and third movie, that was a big thing. I wish I could get that show, at least rent it, but I don't think I will be able to rent it that easy. I'm going to probably have to wait on that. It says this year's fall TV season has a slew of new shows that I'm looking forward to. This is on Cinema Blend. Both new returning, but there are also stand atop of the heap. I guess returning would be probably, for this person writing this, would have to be Walking Dead. Anyway, it says it just got a chainsaw for a hand. Stars announced in order for Ash versus Evil Dead just last year, but it feels like we've been waiting for this since the 14th century. I'm just trying to see if he actually does answer that question. Did he interview Bruce Campbell? I assume he did. Basically, it says Bruce Campbell is here and to let the world know that it's legitimate possibility. Okay, so they may be doing some time travel stuff too. So, that'd be pretty cool. If he actually, probably would make the. It seems like they said that was Star Trek, the movies. That the ones that dealt with time travel were the most popular. Obviously, Doctor Who's very popular, which I'm going to go see on Tuesday. They actually had a commercial for that tonight on before the movie for the Doctor Who event on Tuesday. I'm going to go to. I did post some audio, but I'm not going to actually play it on explaining about the Ark of the Covenant when I was talking about that, but I decided not to use that. Oh, and here's another one, by the way. Now, this is probably, I can't say it's predated, so let me check it out, though. Something, again, about that movie. And before I even say anything and put my foot in my mouth, I just want to see when this was dated. Well, I'll mention anyway because it's going to be really impossible to figure out. But it was a cartoon character or a comic book character by Stan Lee, and it was the Hawk. And I was trying to figure out when that was first made into the comics. And I'll explain myself in a minute. Alrighty, maybe I do have something to go on here. Well, let me start backwards this time, so it's not going to obviously make any sense. The Incredible Hulk the first issue was back in 1962 from Marvel Comics, and that comic in particular was 62 cents. No, 62 cents. It was 1962. It was 12 cents. Now, why am I mentioning that? Well, this movie I mentioned over and over again tonight that I watched, the one about this professor, this 1958 movie. Because here we go again. It might have been something else that could have influenced somebody else. The character, the ingredient goo that he was using, this primitive goo that got activated to make him into a primate, this professor, I'm looking for the name of the movie again, was actually activated by gamma rays. So gamma rays are a real thing too, by the way. So I'm looking at the name for this movie. Yeah, okay, The Monster on Campus. So this movie was released in 1958. Monster on Campus. Again, this professor was experimenting with some primitive type of, I don't want to say plasma, but I just want to call it goo. It's just for a simpler way to put it. And he says in the movie, oh yeah, when mixed with, quote unquote, with gamma rays, that's what causes him to change into this primate. So there you go. Here's another, somebody else who probably may have saw the film and said, you know what? Gamma rays turns people into a monster or into some super being. Hey, that would be pretty good to use to make maybe the Incredible Hulk. You never know. Somebody must have got the idea from somewhere. I mean, do you think somewhere these ideas are stemmed? They could be from your own imagination, or they could be from something you watched. So I know I get picked on for like watching a lot of movies or TV shows, but you know what? A lot of my ideas that I come up with come out of what I watch or what I see or what I'm influenced by or my own personal experiences. But I'm not the only one. Everybody kind of does that. Now, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about myself, but I'm just saying it's generally the case. I know for me it is, and I'm sure that's true for a lot of other people. So there's three things that stem from this film that probably wasn't even that great. But obviously, when you're younger or, this is the top-notch thing to go see for the week in the movie theater, it's going to definitely, you're going to definitely go see it with, yourself or a girlfriend or friends back in 1958. And I'm sure if you're a teenager or somebody who likes this kind of stuff, you're going to see this and it's like, wow, this has gave me some ideas later on in life, like Altered States, like The Incredible Hulk, like Evil Dead. So that's three things I just got out of this film. That people who made those films that might have been influenced by just this one thing. So it's amazing. That's pretty cool, actually. Yeah, I'm trying to see if there's anything worth else reading. Probably not, actually, because I just mentioned the stuff I actually wanted to. See what happens when I have nothing to complain about. My shows get really kind of dull. But hey, on a lighter note, though, this was another thing I just posted because there wasn't really much going on this weekend. I just did a show a few hours ago too. That doesn't help. But they said Mighty Morphin Power Rangers reboot to commence filming this winter. That's been a big thing for a long time. From when I was a kid almost. Actually, I was a teenager. But that was actually big before. It didn't hit the U.S. until I was a teenager, but I think Mighty Morphin Power Rangers were actually big when I really was a kid, just not in the U.S. But I was on comicbookmovie.com. It says, we might not know who exactly will be playing the next generation of Power Rangers just yet, but we do know when they will be expected to suit up. Come check it out. The upcoming Dean Israelite directed reboot is expected to hit theaters in January 13th, 2017. So, yeah, in some strange way, I mean, it's just something for the kids to look forward to. Maybe even people... See, I watched it seldomly as a teenager, but I never thought it was that great. I thought it was kind of corny looking. But there was a lot of people who grew up with that. I'm sure if they make a movie again, they're going to obviously probably go and see it. Because it kind of is on the line of Ultraman, honestly. It wasn't that far off from being like that. Not that that really matters. That might honestly be the last thing I have to talk about tonight. I didn't want to ruin this woman's name. There's some woman, and she says, maker of X-rated films dies at 64. You can read that, because I cannot, honestly, it looks like Candinia Royale or something, but it says it was in New York Times.com. She's the author of, maybe this will help, because Matt would know this maybe. Miss Royale was Royale. So, yeah, she was the author of How to Tell a Naked Man What to Do, Sex Advice from a Woman Who Knows. So, you know, it's a shame that this woman just passed away at age 64. Because it seems like nowadays, oh, well, that's pretty old. Well, honestly, I think like 40s is the new 30s or something, like one of those things. Like, people don't age as, obviously we live longer, but we don't age as, not all of us. Some of us do, but not, we don't age the same way like we used to. Like, it seems like the longevity, not only, I don't even know how to put this. The longevity goes far beyond just living longer. It actually seems like our aging process has slowed down somewhat for some of us, a lot of us. So, give or take. Oh, and by the way, I got to plug myself tonight because I'm not doing any good with this stuff. I try to pull it out again because they made it so convincing on the Apple iWatch. I got that white sports band one because that was the cheapest, and I like the white because white looks clean to me. That's why I like it. So I ended up buying the iWatch, and I bought the Apple Care with it. And I try to put it on eBay, and it's up there now. I just went up right before I went to the movie theater. You know what? I didn't get I got a couple looks, but not one even person was remotely interested. And obviously I got not only no bids, but I got no watchers either. So I'm not going to give it away for $50 because people expect me to sell, even I have an Apple Mac desktop. That's another plug for myself, and it's on eBay. It's an Apple Mac Pro 2.8 is the processor speed of a quad core system. And I'm asking starting bid for $200, and somebody outbid that first person who bid $2.50. So it's going to be up for the next 2 days, and everybody's thinking, oh, I'll get it for next to $200, $250 for. I hate to tell you, they're being for a rude awakening because I'm not letting it go for under close to $400 because the computer is worth. The parts in the computer are worth more than even I'm selling the whole bit for. And I wasn't even going to sell the whole thing at first. I was going to sell it with no graphics card and no hard drive because most people do that. But and my friend Matt said he probably will buy it off of me. And at the price I'm even letting it go at, even if it was $400, is way below what it's actually worth for what's in that machine. Because I also have, in that same computer, I also have 24 gigs of RAM. So, and yeah, this Apple iWatch, whoever buys it, all they have to do is you go to the Apple store or you call up Apple and that serial number's on there. And whoever buys it, they're going to when you go in for a repair, they're going to say, this is under warranty for 2 years. Complete the Apple Plus Care because that's all they sell anymore. Well, yeah, you're going to get something that is like brand new, because I don't care if you rip it apart when you get it, if you smash it, you can bring it back to the store and you're going to get a brand new watch for free, or you just mail it back to Apple. They're going to give you a brand new watch. It's not going to cost you anything, minus what you pay, what I'm charging. But apparently people don't grasp that listen, you're getting a watch at a good price, but yet you want to get it for cheaper yet. Because most of these people, I hate to say, I'm selling on eBay. I don't know if I mentioned that. They're turning around and they're repost what they buy off me, because I had somebody do that to me. Years ago, I had all these Cure concert T-shirts. Now, that was different. But some guy swindled me out of buying them all. He bought them all from me for $10 a pop. He turned around and reposted them for $100 a piece for these, Robert Smith of the Cure, the Cure T-shirts. He reposted each T-shirt individually for $100 a piece. So I'm not that mentally blind to know what these people are doing. They're trying to pull a fast one on you. So trust me, it gets really annoying with stuff like that. But anyway, I just wanted to touch base. I may actually have really not much to talk about as the rest of this weekend, because again, our washer machine had broken at home for the third time. And that being said, I want to be doing laundry tomorrow too. So weekend shows usually are either got a lot for me to talk about or not much at all. And obviously, there's not much for me to talk about, which is fine, because I need my Walter time as well, because I do try to do these shows. Right now for like almost every night. And I'm doing that for a reason, because I don't know if I mentioned, but as once again, and probably, let me check, make sure I'm right. Yeah, in about another 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks, if you ever go past the Colonial Theater, meaning October 1st, you will see my advertisement on the, it's just going to be a still shot, but I'll be advertising on the Colonial Theater movie screen, before your movie would start, if whatever you would go see. So, anyway, everyone, I am signing off for now. Show wasn't probably that exciting for most, but that's all right. So it gives me time to look for other news sources. So everyone, have a good weekend. Once again, I did mention that yesterday, but I'm saying it again. And hopefully you enjoyed somewhat what I said tonight. Have a good weekend, folks. This is Walter. iWalter signing off.